We ended up going to music festivals, Burning Man, parties, birthdays, ski trips, everything you can imagine. And that's how it kind of started. Jokingly here or there, was just kind of like, hey, if we end up being old and we don't have kids and one of us wants one, don't hesitate, just ask, we'll have one. No one ever thought that would ever come to fruition.
But about a year ago, Ashley started asking you, hey, I want to do this. Are you in?
Yeah, I remember the first time it stopped feeling like a joke. Her and one of her really good friends, Holly, called me, and they kind of both were like, hey, we both are looking to have kids. Let us know if you're available and want to jump on board. And I didn't make much of it. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, let me just keep the joke going. And I just said, no tackle football, no religion, raised liberal. That's all I care about.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angelica Rampal, MD, known as Dr. Angel to my patients. Thank you all for being here today for my first episode of the Unplanned Parent. I have with me my co-host and brother, Raman Rampal, who will not just be my co-host, but will share his story this season of how he is becoming a parent. And he's not doing it in the traditional way. He is going to co-parent a baby with his longtime friend, Ashley. And we will cover their journey from decision to do this to the IVF process and hopefully to the birth of a healthy baby by the end of the season. Today, we'll start at the beginning, not with the pregnancy, but all the conversations and soul searching that Raman had to go through to get to that, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to have this IVF baby with Ashley.
Yeah. So, ironically, the deliberate parent here, that being me, never actually really wanted to be a parent. It's never really been in my kind of DNA, or it's not something I've ever thought about. So it was a pretty unusual, or maybe the most unusual circumstances that swayed me otherwise. But, having you as a pediatrician and my sister has been very helpful through the course of this decision-making process, and has been helpful just when I have random medical questions or I accidentally take 5,000 milligrams of magnesium when I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah, I definitely remember many times when you paged me while I was still a med student and you were like, oh my gosh, I think I ate expired sushi, or, some other things that you might not want me to share with everybody.
What, like when I had a burning when urination, perhaps?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But now maybe the calls will be about your future baby, which I am much more excited to answer questions about.
I hope the burning urination days are behind me. And, just to give you a little shout out, you've always been great, not only to me, but to anyone who asks. So I think it kind of speaks to your character.
Aw, thank you. So let's jump into today's episode. How did my brother, the nomadic, dreadlocked, always traveling somewhere, always on a plane flight to Morocco or Ethiopia or India, how did this guy decide to settle down and have an IVF baby and co-parent with his longtime friend?
Even to this day, I wake up some days and I'm like, wait, did I make the decision? Did this really happen? Is this a dream? Did I screw up? Did I make the right choice? Does it matter if I made the right choice or the wrong choice? Sometimes my brain goes all the way back to D-Day, when that deadline was approaching. And
so tell us, what do you mean D-Day?
So we'll get into it, but this was one moment where I had made a decision, and Ashley, the pressure cookers in both of our bodies were at peak levels, and it was time for me to tell her, yes, I'm going to do this with you, or no, go find another option.
Okay, so let's just backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
When did Ashley ask you, and how did she ask you to be the father of the baby that she wanted to have?
It all started kind of with jokes, and now I'm much more careful about what I joke about in my life. And it was a culmination of from 2024 to to D-Day when I sent her that text message that said I'm in.
So that's what D-Day is. D-Day is the text message that said I'm in.
D-Day was the moment where I knew I will never be 100%. Ashley was waiting for a response, but I was above 50%. And so I did what any normal person would do in that situation. I whipped out my phone and I wrote her a text that said, I'm in, and where do I go to do my business?
So you essentially, over a text, said, I will be the father to this child. Tell me where to go to donate my sperm. Or not donate my sperm, but to give my sperm sample so that we can fertilize your eggs.
That is exactly how it went down. I figured that would be in good Raman form, and just to keep form with how this whole experience has gone, which, as you asked, going back to the beginning, what was the inception of this? And so, yeah, I've known Ashley for a long time. We share a roommate who is both of our best friends, and we are also all kind of best friends.
Not currently. At the time, historically, you guys have both roomed with the same person at one point in time.
Exactly.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And through that connection, we ended up going to music festivals, Burning Man, parties, birthdays, ski trips, everything you can imagine. We have a tight-knit group of friends, and she's been a part of a lot of the good times and a lot of the jokes, and that's how it kind of started. Jokingly here or there, was just kind of like, hey, if we end up being old and we don't have kids and one of us wants one, don't hesitate, just ask, we'll have one. And we no one ever thought that would ever come to fruition.
But about a year ago, Ashley, maybe 9 months ago, a year ago, right? Ashley started asking you, hey, I want to do this. Are you in? And it took you several months then to realize that, 1, she wasn't joking, and 2, she was very, very serious, and 3, she had a deadline because she wanted to get those eggs fertilized and implanted in her ASAP.
Yeah, I remember the first time it stopped feeling like a joke. Her and one of her really good friends, Holly, called me, and they kind of both were like, hey, we both are looking to have kids. Let us know if you're available and want to jump on board. And we're kind of serious. And they were laughing and giggling, and I didn't make much of it. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, let me just keep the joke going. And I just said, no tackle football, no religion, raised liberal. That's all I care about. The rest is up to you.
So you were kind of sort of jokingly in the first 24 hours of the question.
Yeah, I guess so. And then, a little bit later down the road, and I believe it was around September of 2024, we went snowboarding together in Chile. And it was then that she really just said, hey, kind of jokes aside, let me know my Thanksgiving Day if you want to do this.
So you had from September until Thanksgiving Day. And what did you do? What was the thought process? How did you deliberate? Did you in your head with other people? Who was on your team? Who was your counsel?
Yeah. Well, my first counsel was me. And my first answer in my head was hell no. Why would I do this? This doesn't make any sense. This isn't who I am. Things are going very well in my life. I feel like I have your kids whenever I want them. So that's a fantastic feeling to have. And, why make a right turn or just change the course of a trajectory that is going well? I can do what I want. I can be where I want. And there's no point to kind of screw it all up, which is the way I initially took it.
Right. Why have a baby when life is good? Why throw in a huge unknown? And so how did your hell no go to turn into a yes?
Turn into above 50%?
Yeah. A leaning yes.
I know you wanted to say hell yes. I took a step back from my current life and just kind of reflected on, I'm jumping on planes all the time and I'm traveling all the time. And what what memories, what trips stood out? When did I really have those times where I was excited to be on the plane, I was excited to land, and I was excited to hang out with certain people and be in a certain place? And invariably, it was with your kids.
My kids, my
Your
three
kids,
kids.
your three
Yep.
kids. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
whether that's a snorkeling trip to the Galapagos or a ski trip to Utah, um, those trips would not have been nearly as fun without your children and of you and your husband, of course, but more so the kids. And I kind of want to put this out there too, because I think it makes sense. Your kids are at a very good age for me to be in love with them. If they were all in diapers right now, that 50% might not, it might have been below 50%.
Totally fair.
It made me think that I enjoy kids more than I let on, and maybe that's a check mark in the pro column. And like I said, my travels had become maybe not as exciting if I wasn't with you guys, and it was maybe it was a time to change it up. I talked to plenty of friends and family. Uh, I talked to you. What was your reaction, Angel?
I was a hell no. I was like, you're crazy. You are naive. You have no idea what being a parent is. You don't remember how attached you were to kids. And because I know there's a part of you that still thinks you're going to kind of up and just do your traveling and when you want to. And maybe you will, maybe you will. But I just remember how attached you were to my kids, even when they were teeny tiny. And also, I just felt like, oh, the economics of it, to the logistics of it, like you have no idea. And to be totally um, open, I am selfish. Like, you're a great uncle. My kids love you. When Tim and I want to go on a trip, you drop everything and are happy to babysit. And I think it's a win-win situation because the kids have a great time with you and you get to really have this unobstructed bonding time with the kids because you don't have to follow my rules. And I didn't want to share you with another kid, even if that kid was your own kid, which obviously doesn't make any sense and is unfair, but that was my raw emotional feeling.
I could not believe that was your response. I was so taken aback.
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm gonna like
I
tear up.
actually thought it was such an unusual response that I was like embarrassed to tell people that that's what you said. It's like, wow,
Because it sounded so selfish.
I'm the selfish sibling here, not you. You're not taking that title away from me.
Yeah. Everyone is selfish just at different times and we're not always open about it. But anyways, yeah, I didn't want my life to change. I liked our setup and now I was like, great, there's going to be another baby. You're going to never be around and my kids won't be your number one love anymore. Now you're going to have your own baby. But then when I took a step back, like obviously that's not fair to you. You should have that same experience of having that kid love you the way that a kid loves a parent and having that joy and purpose that parenthood brings. So, and it's a little bit different than having that same love for niece and nephew. Arguably better or worse, but it's different. So, and if you wanted to have that, it's not my place to say no so that I have a babysitter on hand.
Was there a moment where you kind of flipped and were like, wow, I totally, because you did a complete 180. You went from hell no to hell yes.
I think as when you made a comment at some point, you said, I don't think I'm ever gonna have a baby in the traditional way. This might be the only way I ever have a kid. And it's not like this opportunity is going to come again, most likely. Although I think 3 people asked you for your sperm in the last 12 months. So I guess it potentially could have come again. But, when you said that, I thought, okay, yeah, that's probably true. And I think you would be a great dad. I think it's a lot more stress than being a great uncle, but I think you're up for it.
And your initial thought of me being naive has quelled a little bit?
No, I think everyone's naive when they're going into parenthood and
No, not at all.
No, everyone is, but like nobody would do it. And then you forget how naive you were, and then you might do it again. I mean, like when I went into labor the first time, I was like, how are people not blowing out their retinas doing this? Like, I was like, how am I not having an aneurysm? I will never do this again. And then, I had two more.
Yeah,
So
I was in
it's
the
part
delivery
of,
room with you. You probably
yeah,
remember that.
I do. I do. So, when you when you were deliberating, who are some of the people you called up, and who said yes and who said no when you said, "Do you guys think I should have a baby with Ashley?"
So some people that kind of stand out. I asked quite a few people. Um, I went on a long walk with your husband, Tim, and I thought that was a good walk. Uh, we talked a lot, and he's very candid, and I don't think
That he
is
is.
afraid to say anything to me. So, the conclusion of our walk was basically him telling me, you should do it. You should have the kid if you're 99-1, meaning 99% you want to have the kid, 1% you don't. And I was like, well, I'm 60-40 on like the best days. So I took that advice pretty seriously, and it helped. I talked to some other friends. One of my friends, Bobby, he gave me a really good answer. He said, obviously there's a lot to it, but the conclusion to his answer was there is no wrong answer. He's like, if you choose to do it, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna be a good dad. And if you stop traveling so much and stop doing a lot of things that you currently love doing because you want to hang out with the child, then you're still doing what you want to do.
That is great advice. Bobby is so wise. Sometimes I look at Bobby and I yeah, it's hard for me to see that wisdom, but I know it's then he says
It's
those
in there
things
somewhere.
and it's in there. Yeah.
That gave me that kind of relaxed me a little bit, and I took that advice to heart. There's going to be no wrong answer for me.
But then you also talked to some lawyers who told you there's a wrong answer.
I did. Yeah. I talked to my accountant who said the correct answer is to not go through with this. I talked to no, not a fertility lawyer,
Family lawyer.
family law. Yeah. Who also was kind of like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You don't know what's going to happen if things go sideways. Ashley might come after you for this and that, child support, and just make your life, your perfectly good, great life right now, miserable. So, there were lawyers, there was accountants, there were friends, there was family.
Did you ever ask our mom and dad if you should do this?
I did. And their initial reaction, well, dad's initial reaction is, so you will not be getting married? And I was like, no, Dad, we're not even going to have sex. Like, like this is going to be done in a lab with a friend of mine. And I think it took him maybe a few minutes to kind of wrap his head around like what exactly was going down. But ultimately their answer was, we thought you were never going to have kids and don't want kids. And if what you are telling us results in you having a child that we are allowed to visit and have a relationship with, as long as we can have that, then we are 100% in support. And I mean, they were like, if you're going to go travel and live your same life, we'll just go move in with Ashley
Is Ashley okay with this?
and take care of the kid. So that was mom and dad's. Had I never told you that before?
No, I've never asked you. I'm scared sometimes to talk about mom and dad.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people I talked to, and there was a pro you should do at camp and the don't do at camp. And one thing I did notice between the two groups of people, and there it wasn't completely clean, was I think out of all the people who knew Ashley, or at least almost all, the vast majority, they all said to do it. And the ones who were on the fence or were clear no's did not know Ashley. So I think that kind of speaks to her character a little bit.
Wow. I think a lot for sure, because co-parenting is hard enough when you think you're in love with someone and you decide you want to have a baby, but then to co-parent. Anyways, yes, it's hard enough with someone you think you're in love with. And so I think if people think Ashley is someone that you can co-parent with, she must be very even-keeled, thoughtful, not super reactive, very different from me.
Look, I've never had that I can remember like an actual fight with her. First of all, maybe because we are friends and you don't maybe, but friends fight. Friends have bicker like, and especially through all the times of like intense partying where we're inebriated and things can happen. I mean, people get angry about stupid shit, especially when you're young.
Oh yeah. I've seen belligerent Raman.
Yeah, belligerent, and yeah, anyone can. Well, there could be belligerent Ashley, but I've never seen it. And so that's great. Don't tell her about belligerent Raman. That's
Too late now.
That's of yesteryear.
Yes.
I've never had, you know, none of that really. Those bad negative emotions have ever been aroused when I'm around her, and so, part of me thought about it like, we're going in this as a divorced couple, or not a couple, but as people that might be divorced, but don't have any animosity and like to hang out and and will have the child's best interest in mind. You know, so I think that helped me to come to the side of I should do it.
Were there any big barriers or hurdles that you had to get through mentally, other than the family lawyers and the accountants recommending against it? And of course, there were any other mental hurdles you had to jump through?
Yes, there were quite a few mental hurdles.
Like, for example, were you dating anybody at the time?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I was dating someone at the time, and that someone is now my girlfriend. So that kind of complicated the way I felt about it at the time and now even. Just a little background on her. She has 2 kids and she's divorced. And it was something that I talked to her about at length. We were dating at the time. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm not sure if that really matters, but that weighed on me. I didn't know how it would affect my relationship with her. I love her. She's a great person. And it's a pretty strange thing to bring up to someone that you're dating.
Yes.
So, there was that. I mean, we could probably do a whole segment just on that.
We will.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Look where I'm at right now. So right now I'm in the Poconos. This is a home that I own with my ex-girlfriend. And in the background, you might see the cutest dog in the world. She's sleeping. That is Gabby. For those of you who are watching, I spend at least 3 months out of the year here, and it's usually to get work done. My busy season is summer, so I like to come here in seclusion. I'm out in the mountains, and I get to take custody of my dog, who lives full time with my ex-girlfriend. So it's like 3 months of summertime that I get to spend with my dog, go on hikes, and focus on work. And of course, that's going to change if there is a child in the picture. So that weighed on me very, very heavily. Will I not see Gabby as much? Will I not spend as much time in this home that I love? The answer is yes. It will be less. But, Ashley's pretty cool. And I think she's going to be very open to me being like, hey, I'm going to go have some me time for a while. And so, that weighed on me very, very heavily. My lifestyle weighed on me heavily. But one of the things Ashley did say to me is, my involvement level is up to me. How true she meant that at the time, I don't know, but it took a lot of pressure off me to know that, hey, she's going to be, we can say the primary caregiver here, and I will be there and to support her. But it's kind of up to me how much I want to. As I've thought through this over the course of all this, I'm going to be heavily involved as a dad. But it was at the time, I think it was really nice for me to hear Ashley, who wants to be a mom over 100%, to be like, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it with you or without you, but whatever support you can offer is going to be more than if you weren't involved.
Ashley sounds like a perfect co-parent for you, for sure. So just to kind of change gears a little bit, I think you came to me at some point and said, so as a physician, specifically a pediatrician, what do I think about this platonic co-parenting? And I have to say that over the 20 years of seeing different kinds of family units, I've seen 2 moms, 2 dads, 2 moms and a dad involved, 4 parents with divorced parents who've remarried. I've seen single mom and parent, single mom, child, dyad, single dad, parent. I've seen it all. And and all of them, there's no right or wrong in any of these situations. And there's actually a fair amount of data out there now looking at same-sex couples and kids of divorced couples. And common sense will tell us what the data tells us, and that's that if kids feel supported, loved, if they are in an environment that doesn't have a lot of antagonism in it, they tend to do well or better. So I think bringing a baby into the world where 2 parents love the baby, those parents aren't going to talk badly about one another to the child. They're not going to talk badly about any partners the other parent might have or other people in various parents' lives. Then that's the best thing you can do for your kid. So I think you guys are going to bring this baby into a great loving environment with great aunts and uncles. And we know at least one set of grandparents that is going to be really, really involved in that baby's life. So, so I think I think from that standpoint, this baby is in great shape.
Angel, you're my older sister. I'm your younger brother. You're a doctor. Is there anything at all that I missed through this process?
So medically speaking, I did have some thoughts. And the thing that made me really hopeful was that Ashley, your partner in all this, had frozen her eggs when she was 34. Also, I think what makes your situation really great just biologically for you is that, you were 44 when you gave your sperm. Ashley was 44 when she decided to have this baby, but she froze her eggs 10 years ago. So for the listeners, we'll dive into this a little bit more later when we have Ashley on. But 34-year-old eggs are a lot more likely to result in a live birth than 44-year-old eggs. So Ashley had this great foresight, and you guys were able to use those eggs to make embryos. And I think that is really the best medical decision that was made was her freezing her eggs when she was 34 years old.
I'm not a doctor, but the fact that Ashley did freeze her eggs at age 34 did weigh in and was, one variable in a set of variables, but it was an important one.
Now we can move into our Is This Normal segment. And so is it normal for 2 friends to decide to have a baby together? And I would say no, it's not typical, but it's not wrong. And 2 financially sound, stable, not mad at each other adults have basically all the fodder necessary to make great parents. And I think both you and I would agree that family composition norms are changing. And while this situation is not common, more and more people will know of someone who has done this. So I don't know anyone personally, but I do know of a college classmate who has done what you're doing with a friend. So, and other people might say, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of that." So I think you're not going to be the only one, especially as your child grows up.
I had a quick question. Is there anything that you have of particular concern with me, Ashley? You said a lot of things that were very positive about why you think things are going to go well. But what comes to mind in regards to what might not go well?
So yeah, well, my first thought is just, she's carrying a child at 44. So I just hope this baby makes it to term or close to term, because it does get harder. I mean, the eggs are in great shape, but her body is still a 44-year-old body, and she's in great shape and has great health. But that placenta, I mean, that mom is creating a new organ in her body. So we are all, I mean, it's just people don't know this, but like it is wild that your body just creates a new organ once a baby is implanted. So we basically are creating a home for that little baby in our bodies. And as we get older, our machinery is getting older. We're creating this organ that's supposed to last like 40 weeks. And in some women, it just can't last that long. So I really hope that Ashley's good health and overall anti-inflammatory lifestyle will help her make it to term. But no matter who you are, I mean, we know young moms who can't make it to term. So anyways, my first and foremost concern is just like things happen, and I just hope that things go well and smoothly for Ashley. And then after that, yeah, I mean, I had these same concerns. Even like when Tim and I decided to have our third child, it took us a year to decide to have the kid. I mean, we were so confused. We asked a bartender once. We were like, "So we don't know. What do you think?" And the bartender gave us her insight, and we did end up having a third kid, and it was great. But we didn't want to rock our boat, and our boat was pretty stable with two healthy kids. And then I was going to be an older mom, and what if the kid that we had a disability or something that just upended our lifestyle. So I think that could happen, but I also think that can happen to anyone. You can have a totally healthy kid and they fall down riding their bike and are never the same again after a traumatic brain injury. Like I've seen all kinds of things happen. You can't predict anything. So you just have to, not worry about it, and you can't plan for everything. So but what you have, you've got to be ready to handle. And I think you will be. Stuff you didn't know, you may not have known that studies on same-sex parenting and divorce parenting show that all that really matters is that kids are raised in a supportive environment and that they have two parents who love them, or it doesn't even matter. I shouldn't even say two parents that love them. They have adults who love them.
It could be one parent, right?
Yeah, it could be one parent. It could be a grandparent. You just have a stable environment where they feel loved. And there's a lot of research on adverse childhood events, losing a parent, a divorce, seeing somebody die, and all of those adverse childhood events, you tally them up, and it really is associated with chronic disease as you get older. But there are also people that experience those adverse childhood events and don't have as much chronic disease, and you wonder why. And it's really how many positive experiences they have that buffer the negative experiences. So I tell parents this a lot. It's like, when your kid is crying and you think you've traumatized them, you're not, if you can love them and hug them and tell them that it's okay and they're going to be all right. And, depending on the age, there's different things you can do. But if you can have those loving experiences and positive experiences with your kid, it can help buffer from the negative experiences. So in your case, your kid's not going to go through the divorce, which is the more difficult event. You're already starting with some plus points.
Yep. And we don't bicker. We don't fight. Well, at least yet. Obviously, we'll have some parenting differences, but, we'll talk about that in a later episode, talking about we have contracts for all that. So hopefully we hashed out as much as we can.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think, thank you, Raman, for co-hosting with me. And if you listeners out there found any of this interesting, helpful, reassuring, fascinating, or just off the wall, please share with your friends and family, and look out for our next episode where we're going to go a little bit more into the decision-making process and the next steps of what actually happens once you decide to co-parent a baby or once you start to move forward with IVF. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty details a little bit of how Raman and Ashley moved forward.
And if you didn't like it, please share it with all the people that you want to annoy.
That's great advice.